In my past life, my younger sister was adopted by a wealthy family. I was adopted by a cleaner. As it turned out, the wealthy family was plagued by intense infighting. Her parents were cold and distant. Her older brother was a bully. He eventually left the family with nothing, while my home was very harmonious. The young master of that wealthy family even fell in love with me, the poor and innocent girl. Everything was like an idle drama. Consumed by hatred, my sister killed me. Together, we returned to the day we were adopted. This time, she rushed into the cleaner's arms first. Sister, this time, it's my turn to be the idle drama lead. But she doesn't know that the reason a heroine is a heroine has never been about her background. My sister and I were reborn together. Back to that day at the orphanage, the day of the adoption. Two families stood in the director's office. The Gu family and the Zhou family. The three members of the Gu family were impeccably dressed. The man was in a sharp suit. The woman was dripping in jewels. And their only son, Gu Zhiyue, wore a high school uniform. But on his feet were a pair of limited edition global collaboration sneakers. This was the most prominent family in Jiang City, the Gus. Mr. Gu was a business tycoon, whose enterprises contributed the most tax revenue to Jiang City. Mrs. Gu was a socialite, often seen at various jewelry auctions, fashion galas, and charity balls, rubbing shoulders with A-list celebrities. Their son, Gu Zhiyue, was known as the Prince of Jiang City. In contrast, Zhou Jiazi, standing next to them, looked dusty and disheveled. The hands of the man and woman were covered in marks from manual labor. They had probably chosen their best clothes, but there were still stains that wouldn't wash out. According to the director's introduction, the couple both worked at Jiang City No. 1 Middle School. The husband was a handyman, and the wife was a cleaner. In our past life, my sister, Sherman, chose the Gu family without hesitation, but at this very moment, almost as if afraid of falling behind, she lunged into the cleaner's arms. Mom, take me with you. I want to be your daughter. From now on, my name will be Zhou Sherman. Amidst my sister's excitement, I walked toward the Gu family. And so, the choice was made. As we left the orphanage with our respective families, I heard the director muttering to himself in confusion. Strange, Sherman has always been the most ambitious one among the previous adopters. If they were even slightly plain in dress, she wouldn't even look at them. Now that a real wealthy family is here, why didn't she choose them? The director didn't understand why. But I did. In the previous life, my sister did everything she could to be adopted by the Gu family and become Gu Sherman. She thought what awaited her was the life of a little princess. Not to mention having someone like Gu Zhiyue, the Prince of Jiang City, as her brother. After all, a wealthy young master and an adopted daughter are the most common trope in romance novels. Living under the same roof, it's easy for feelings to blossom over time. However, Sherman never expected that Gu Zhiyue wouldn't have an ounce of brotherly tenderness. On the contrary, he detested her to the core. I hate social climbers more than anything. Don't think I can't see through your manipulative act. You're just after our family's money, aren't you? At home, Gu Zhiyue bullied Gu Sherman. At school, he led a group of lackeys to harass her. Even if the Gu parents knew, they would only give him a half-hearted scolding. They didn't have much affection for Sherman anyway. The only reason they adopted her was because a fortune teller told Mr. Gu that adopting a daughter would bring him great luck for the next 10 years. Between an adopted daughter and their biological son, the Gu parents naturally favored their son. While Gu Zhiyue was bullying Sherman, he was exceptionally kind to me, who had been adopted by the Zhous. He saw me living on a scholarship, ranking first in class, attending school by day, and helping my mother with cleaning at night, clearly living a hard life, yet never complaining. Zhou Shichu, this girl is actually quite interesting. Just like in the idol dramas, the rebellious wealthy young master fell for the resilient, poor, innocent flower girl. Later, when the Gu parents passed away, Gu Zhiyue brought in a team of lawyers to divide the estate. Sherman was schemed against until nothing was left. She was kicked out of the house without a penny. A few months later, Gu Zhiyue married me. He even publicly declared to Zhou Shichu at the wedding, "What's mine is yours." Unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy Gu Zhiyue's wealth either, because a few days later, Sherman, driven to madness by despair, drove her car into me and killed me. Returning to this life, my sister chose the Zhou family without hesitation. Though they don't have a massive fortune, there is no scheming either. She can enjoy her parents' wholehearted love, grow up in a happy family, and because of this background, earn the sympathy and protection of the wealthy young master, eventually getting a fairy tale wedding of the century. She smiled at me and said, "Sister, this time it's my turn to be the idol drama heroine. And you should get a taste of everything I suffered." Shyman's prediction wasn't wrong. Her gaze even skipped over me to look behind me. I knew that back there, Zhou Sherman was bending over to mop the floor. Wait, that's not right. It is Zhou Sherman. Why is she still mopping the floor? A lackey told Gu Zhiyue. Zhou Shyman's mom is the school cleaner. She goes to school during the day and has to help her mom work at night. A flicker of shock appeared in Gu Zhiyue's eyes, followed by a trace of heartache. He shouted at Zhou Sherman, "Hey, it's so cold, stop mopping. Nobody's going to check anyway." Zhou Sherman straightened up, her black hair cascading over her shoulders, a stubborn expression on her delicate face. She shook her head. I can't. If someone comes to inspect and finds the floor isn't clean, Mom will have 100 yuan deducted from her salary. I know 100 yuan is nothing to a young master like you, but for my family, that's my food money for a whole week. After saying that, Zhou Sherman bent down to continue mopping. Actually, Zhou Shimon's scheme was obvious. With so much floor space, she insisted on mopping right in front of Gu Zhiyue. She even purposely let her hair down and found the right angle to present her most beautiful side. Too bad Gu Zhiyue is a sucker for this act. Sure enough, Gu Zhiyue stepped forward and helped Zhou Sherman up, snatched the rag from her hand, and threw it to his lackeys. You guys, help her mop the rest of the floor. He looked at Zhou Shimon's hands, red from the cold, thought for a moment, and draped his coat over her. It's late. How are you getting home? Riding a bike? In this freezing weather? He then said in an unquestionable tone, wait downstairs. I'll have my driver take you. Zhou Sherman was escorted away by Gu Zhiyue. Before leaving, she didn't forget to look back quietly, to give me, in my wretched state, a mocking smile. A moment later, the crowd dispersed. I was the only one left by the sink, struggling to get up. I used my sleeve to wipe the water dripping from my hair. A cold voice spoke from behind, use this. I turned around. It was our class monitor, Song Shali. She was a girl of few words. She studied very hard, and always wore long sleeves regardless of the season. In the past life, she had also tried to help Zhou Sherman when she was being bullied. She handed Sherman a towel, and urged her to report Gu Zhiyue's bullying behavior. But Sherman slapped her hand away. What do you know? That's my brother. At that time, Zhou Sherman still harbored the delusional dream of making Gu Zhiyue fall in love with her. So later, Song Shali stopped bothering with her, and went back to being a silent loner. Much later, near graduation, Song Shali committed suicide. Only then did we learn her family was extremely poor. Her grandmother was bedridden year-round. Her father was a gambler, who not only abused her constantly, but also wanted to sell her to pay off his debts. Now she stood beside me, holding a clean towel. I was stunned for a moment, then took it. She didn't say much, turning to leave. She probably thought she had nothing to say to a rich girl from the Gu family like me. As her back was about to disappear from sight, I suddenly spoke up, monitor. Her footsteps paused. I scratched my head. What is it? I just transferred here and don't know my way around. Where is the cafeteria? Can you take me there? 4 dishes and a soup were laid out on the cafeteria table. Braised pork ribs, steamed egg with minced meat, cola chicken wings, stir-fried greens, and clam and winter melon soup. It really is the best high school in Jiang City. The cafeteria food has always been a point of pride. I scratched my head again. Oh, I accidentally ordered too much. Waste is shameful. You probably haven't had dinner yet, right? Let's eat together. Song Shali was silent for a moment, then finally picked up her chopsticks and ate small bites. I looked at her wrist peeking out of her uniform sleeve, thin as a twig. In fact, girls like the monitor are the ones who truly need help, but they aren't pretty. They don't cry out in pain, so they only become the poor, silent weeds in the memories of youth, not even qualified to be the lead in an idol drama. In this life, I will not only save myself, but also her. With my mind made up, I spoke, oh man, conic sections are just too hard. I don't understand them at all. Monitor, since you're so good at studying, how about you tutor me? Song Shali, with a rib in her mouth, had a look of shock that said, are we even that close? I didn't give her a chance to refuse. Putting my arm around her shoulder, I said cheerfully, it's settled then. I'll pay you for the tutoring. I gave part of my allowance to the monitor, calling it an advance payment for the lessons. She looked at the 100 red bills in the envelope, stunned into silence. Actually, whether in the past or current life, the Gu family never skimped on the basic needs and allowance of their adopted daughter. But what was pocket change to Gu Zhiyue, when given to Song Shali, was enough for her to buy medicine for her grandmother, pay the hospital bills, and even rent a small room off campus, far away from her abusive father. After setting a tutoring time for the next day, I went home. The luxurious villa was empty. Mr. Gu was out for business entertainment, and Mrs. Gu went to the beauty parlor for maintenance. As for Gu Zhiyue, he should be eating at the Zhou house right now. In the past life, Gu Zhiyue had his driver take me home, and when my adoptive parents saw him, they warmly invited him to stay for dinner. Then, just like a standard plot in an idol drama, that one dinner allowed the young master, who had grown up in the cold lifestyle of a wealthy family, to feel the deep familial warmth of a poor household. The honest smiles on the Zhou parents' faces, forever beaming, and the small, shabby, yet lively rooms, all made Gu Zhiyue yearn for that life, and made him even fonder of the poor, innocent girl born into such a family. At this very moment, he and Zhou Sherman, though eating food with very little oil, must be very happy in their hearts. I slowly changed into my Hermes bathrobe, washed my face with Chanel cleanser, ate a bowl of bird's nest soup brought by the nanny, and a cold smile played on my lips. Nobody knows. The Zhou couple are indeed poor, but they are by no means honest. They favored boys over girls, and originally wanted to adopt a boy, but there were no healthy boys available at the orphanage. So they settled for the next best thing, deciding to choose a pretty daughter, hoping to lure a golden son-in-law to their door later. Seeing Gu Zhiyue bring their daughter home, their blood must be boiling with excitement. They immediately grabbed this potential son-in-law and treated him like royalty. The so-called familial warmth and lively atmosphere were all just a performance. And in my past life, when I told them I didn't want to marry Gu Zhiyue, my adoptive mother locked me in a room, and my adoptive father used a table leg and a belt to beat me half to death. Sure, man thinks she has entered heaven in this life, not knowing that there is no true heaven in this world. The Gu family is a wealthy hell, and the Zhou family is a poor hell. As for who can crawl out of hell alive, it depends on their own abilities. In the following days, Gu Zhiyue's malice grew more intense. The lunch the nanny prepared for me. When I opened the lunchbox, it was filled with thumbtacks. Inside my cleanser and toothpaste, dead spiders would be squeezed out. The dresses in my closet had holes burned into them by cigarette butts. And every time I was startled and looked up, I would meet Gu Zhiyue's wicked smile. He mouthed to me, "Zhou Shichu, you deserve it." Gu Zhiyue thought I would cry, but I just calmly dumped out the thumbtacks, threw the spiders in the trash, and folded the dresses to put them away. Consequently, the smile on Gu Zhiyue's face vanished. He stared at me intensely, and through gritted teeth, said, "I'll see how long you can keep up this act." Fortunately, this time, though I had to endure Gu Zhiyue's malice, the resources of the Gu family were all at my disposal. I no longer had to spend my days at school, and nights forced to do housework for my adoptive mother. Instead, I had a nanny to take care of me, and a driver to pick me up. I only needed to focus on my studies. In the past life, if I wanted to buy extra study materials, I had to save up for a long time, and stay vigilant so my adoptive father wouldn't take my money to buy alcohol or gamble. But now, the closet was filled with designer clothes, and the jewelry box held Van Cleef and Arpels and Cartier. These were all casually given by Mrs. Gu. No money of my own required. Besides that, I received 50,000 yuan in cash as pocket money at the start of each month, plus a credit card with a 100,000 yuan limit. If I ran out, I just had to tell the butler, and more money would be in my account within half an hour. Meanwhile, the hardships I once endured had fallen entirely onto Zhou Sherman. I saw her sleeping through all her classes, because she had to help her mother with work at night, and never got enough rest. Gradually, she stopped doing her homework, and started leaving her exam papers blank. In my past life, I relied on black coffee to survive. And when I was truly exhausted, I'd poke myself with a compass, risking my life to study. But Zhou Sherman spent her last life living as a pampered rich girl. She lacked that spirit and perseverance. Not to mention, she didn't care about school anyway. In her eyes, becoming the fiancé of the Gu family's prince was far more valuable than getting into Tsinghua or Peking University. So all of Zhou Shimon's energy was focused on making Gu Zhiyue like her more. During math class, she didn't listen, instead secretly writing a diary specifically for Gu Zhiyue. She skipped dance rehearsals, climbing over the school wall to go for drives, and stargaze with Gu Zhiyue in the countryside. Consequently, on the eve of the dance performance, she sat outside the rehearsal room, sobbing. I suspect Zhou Sherman specially studied how idol drama heroines cry, looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, tears held in the eyes, stubbornly refusing to fall. As a result, she was seen by the passing Gu Zhiyue. She threw herself into Gu Zhiyue's arms, sobbing loudly, "Zhiyue, my chance to perform on stage is gone. All the girls in class get to go on stage, except me. Gu Shichu won't let me participate." Gu Zhiyue already detested me to the extreme. Hearing this, he flared up. "Why?" She said my mom is just a cleaner, and my dad is just a security guard. She said I can't even afford the costume, and I don't deserve to be on stage. Gu Zhiyue's expression grew more and more grim. He looked at the hyperventilating Zhou Sherman, and said in a low voice, "Is it just about the costume? I'll buy it for you." "No, one piece costs 800 yuan. I can't accept such an expensive gift from you. How could Gu Shichu do this?" He blurted out in anger, "You're her sister, after all. She's the young lady of the Gu family. Your family donated several buildings to the school, and your father is an honorary trustee. Even if the teachers knew she was bullying you, what could they do?" Zhou Sherman didn't notice that at that moment, reporters who were at the school for an interview were passing by behind her. They leaned in close, like sharks smelling blood. The reporters asked keenly, "Bullying? What bullying?" And just like that, the matter suddenly blew up. In the school's largest meeting room, a crowd of people stood packed together. The principal, the vice principal, the dean of students, the homeroom teacher, and reporters from different newspapers. The parents from both the Gu and Zhou families had all arrived. The Zhou parents stood with the tear-stained Zhou Sherman, tucked away in a corner of the room, their faces full of grievance and indignation. Mr. and Mrs. Gu had originally received the call, but hearing I was in trouble, they didn't want to come. That is, until they heard. Even the director of the Bureau of Education was present. Only then did they rush over. Jiang City No. 1 Middle School is the city's top high school. For the Bureau of Education, it's a flagship institution. Mr. Gu clearly had a history with the director. Upon entering, he went straight to the director's side, speaking smoothly. I can't believe such a small matter would bother Director Lee. It's really just a minor conflict between children. However, the director was very upright. And didn't buy it at all. Mr. Gu, bullying is never a small matter at any time. I know Gu Shichu is your daughter. But to me, every child is a student. They are all saplings. I cannot watch them grow crooked. With that said, Mr. Gu couldn't say much more. He could only manage a smile. Yes, we aren't entirely sure what happened either. Please, investigate thoroughly. Returning to Mrs. Gu's side. The two silently exchanged a look. I understood it. If the bullying was proven, the Gu family would immediately abandon me, an adopted daughter they had no affection for, and cut ties with me completely. Mr. and Mrs. Gu's attitude was cold enough. As for Gu Jiyue, he stood by the sobbing Zhou Sherman, softly comforting her. Then, he raised his dark eyes, and swept a cold glance over me. Seeing that everyone was present, the principal asked, Student Zhou, please tell us what happened. Zhou Sherman raised her red, swollen eyes, and in a low voice, repeated exactly what she had told Gu Jiyue. The reporters were already starting to get indignant. One of them spoke up first. According to our investigation, Gu Shichu and Zhou Sherman used to be friends at the same orphanage, and even considered each other sisters. Then Gu Shichu was adopted by the Gu group, while Zhou Shiman's adoptive parents are just ordinary school staff. Does Gu Shichu think entering a rich family entitles her to bully her former companion and steal opportunities that originally belonged to the other? There was total silence. The eyes of all the reporters were fixed on me. The red light of the camera kept flashing. Everyone wanted to dig up a scoop. After all, this is a very sensitive social issue. In a time when social classes have gradually solidified, if the children of the rich continue to take away educational resources that originally belonged to children from poor families, blocking the latter's upward mobility, that is enough to arouse considerable public indignation. Not to mention the protagonists of this news event, Zhou Sherman and I, represent such a highly dramatic contrast. In the office where a pin drop could be heard, I suddenly burst out laughing. The sound was very abrupt. The reporters all looked at each other. Mr. Reporter, I said, I've read in books. That information obtained by journalists needs to be cross-verified and fact-checked. How is it that now, in a hurry to report a sensational story, you can just skip the work steps? For a moment, the reporter's face turned beet red. I stood up and pointed coldly at Zhou Sherman. Right now, she's your only source of information. Everything is just her side of the story. I did indeed once treat you as a sister, but in our past life, you killed me for a promotion. You climbed up by framing me. So if I destroy you now, you brought it on yourself. Zhou Sherman was jealous of me. She felt that since we both started at the same place, and she was even prettier and smarter than me, why should I be living a better life than her now? Jealousy turned into hatred, which is why she fabricated this whole narrative to frame me. As soon as I said this, Gu Jiyue immediately spoke up in rebuttal. What he clearly wanted to say was, clearly, Zhou Sherman chose the poor Zhou family of her own accord, so it's impossible for her to be someone who favors the rich and loathes the poor. Your version of events is clearly distorting the facts. But before he could finish, the door to the principal's office was suddenly pushed open. A thin, gaunt figure stood outside the door. Short hair, silent as a mouse, like an inconspicuous weed. Our homeroom teacher recognized her. Song Xiaoli, what are you doing here? In the previous life, at this time, Song Xiaoli had already committed suicide, but in this life, she survived. Walking in step by step, Song Xiaoli stood by my side. She said in a low voice, I'm here to testify. Her entrance was so abrupt that the reporters didn't react for a moment. Someone asked, Student, are you here to testify about Gu Shichu bullying Zhou Sherman? After all, looking at her clothes, Song Xiaoli was clearly not from a wealthy family. At a glance, she and Zhou Sherman seemed to be from the same walk of life. Song Xiaoli looked at the person who asked, and shook her head. She said, I'm here to testify for Gu Shichu. I looked at Song Xiaoli in surprise. To be honest, for today's confrontation, I had made many preparations in advance. But Song Xiaoli was not a witness I had prepared. After all, the two of us weren't actually that close. After I gave her money last time, she went to check the current market rates for private tutoring fees calculated based on 1 hour per day. And then she returned all the excess money to me. She explained math to me for an hour every day and left promptly on time with her backpack. She was like an AI robot, running a preset program. In the last life, Song Xiaoli committed suicide by jumping off a building before the Gaokao. All her hopes were pinned on getting into a good university, to make money quickly and treat her grandmother's illness. No one knew what Song Xiaoli's father had done that day, or what the bruised Song Xiaoli had gone through. In this life, even though Song Xiaoli and I didn't become friends, I still wanted to save her. This way, at least until the end of the Gaokao, that man wouldn't be able to commit domestic violence anymore. To carefully prepare for this, I uncharacteristically missed a session of evening self-study. And when I returned, I was caught red-handed by Song Xiaoli, who was responsible for the attendance records. She asked me why I skipped evening self-study. I scratched my head. desperately trying to think of an excuse. After all, I looked perfectly fine, with no illness or trouble. I couldn't exactly tell her I skipped class to beat up her dad. At that critical moment, Song Shally was called out by a teacher from the duty room. "Shally, there's a phone call for you." It was news about something happening to Song Shally's father. 5 minutes later, Song Shally returned, her face still showing that same calm, expressionless look. She picked up the attendance sheet and then put it down. "I won't record it this time. Don't be absent again next time." I breathed a sigh of relief, and quickly scurried back to my seat to study. At this moment, when Song Shally spoke in that same calm tone, "I am testifying for Gu Shichu," I finally realized that she might have known all along. Facing the gaze of everyone in the room, Song Shally pulled out a stack of forms and placed them on the table. Zhou Shimon's face instantly turned snow white. To enter the dance classroom for rehearsal, forms had to be filled out according to school regulations. What time the room was borrowed, who the people borrowing the room were. It was all in the forms. But this wasn't strictly enforced, and filling them out was a hassle. So eventually, almost no one filled them out. Everyone would just give the dance teacher a heads up and go directly. No one expected that Song Shally had meticulously filled out the forms every single time, and had kept all of them. So, under the watchful eyes of everyone could clearly see that out of more than 30 forms, Zhou Shimon's name was only listed among the people using the room. On 2 of them. In other words, out of more than 30 rehearsals, she had only participated in 2. Song Shally saw that everyone had clearly seen the forms, and only then did she slowly speak. Zhou Shiman said. Gu Shichu mocked her for not being able to afford a costume, and that's why she wasn't allowed on stage. But when I told Gu Shichu I couldn't afford a costume, and didn't want to participate because of it, Gu Shichu told me to keep rehearsing. The next day, I found out she had bought costumes for everyone. Zhou Shiman also said. Gu Shichu bullied her because her father is a handyman, and her mother is a cleaner. But my father doesn't even have a steady job, and my whole family survives on my grandmother's minimum living allowance. Hey, Song Shally looked at me. Since you bully poor people, then why don't you bully me? This kind of self-exposure of one's own scars left everyone present stunned. In the silence, I sighed, pulled out my phone, and played a video aloud. In this video, everyone could see Zhou Shiman missing beats and forgetting steps, her performance failing to keep up. She was clearly the worst out of everyone. Well, yes, after all, during the previous rehearsals, she had been out looking at the stars with Gu Zhiyue. Actually, Zhou Shiman didn't even really want to participate in this performance. She just saw that I had cut her from the team. So she went to Gu Zhiyue to play the victim and distort the truth, to make Gu Zhiyue like her more, and loathe me even more. She didn't expect this matter to blow up so much, or that my witnesses and physical evidence would be so thorough. Originally, I shouldn't have taken the initiative to cut Zhou Shiman on my own, but for this dance performance, there are special bonus points for admissions. 2 girls in our group are specialized art students, who are counting on these bonus points to get into college. If I had still let Zhou Shiman participate, then it would have been the futures of those 2 girls that were compromised. Therefore, I had no choice but to make this decision. After the interview ended, the reputations of Zhou Shiman and I instantly reversed. The students all said she had a persecution complex, and started to distance themselves from her. Don't get too close to Zhou Shiman. Otherwise, if there's any conflict, she'll say you're looking down on her for being poor, and bullying her. Honestly, her family isn't even that poor, is it? Both her parents have steady jobs. In our school, there are quite a few impoverished students on student loans, and you don't see them crying to high heaven, saying they're being bullied. Sigh, some people just like to blame fate when they don't work hard. To all of this, unexpectedly, Zhou Shiman remained very quiet. She quietly went through the final independent review period until the gaokao was over. She didn't cause any more trouble. Song Shally warned me, be careful. She must be preparing a counterattack. It's okay, she can keep her cool. And so can I. I could sense it. That Zhou Shiman was secretly working on something. Because at home, it was visibly clear that Gu Zhiyue's attitude towards me was getting worse and worse. In the past, when he bullied me, he would at least avoid our parents. Now, while the family was eating, he suddenly slammed a bowl full of chicken soup onto the table. The soup, with its hot oil, immediately splashed onto my face. The nanny nearby let out a cry of alarm, hurrying to bring me an ice pack and burn ointment. The whole time, Mrs. Gu kept her head down drinking soup as if she hadn't seen anything. Mr. Gu raised his head slightly and said to Gu Zhiyue, keep your movements light. Don't make people think our children aren't well-bred. Both Mr. and Mrs. Gu didn't care about me. To them, I was just an adopted daughter they had no feelings for. Brought home because of a fortune teller's words. I was just placed there like a money tree, for the sake of good luck. In the last life, it wasn't that Zhou Shiman hadn't tried to work on Mr. and Mrs. Gu to cultivate feelings. As it turned out, that line of thinking was completely wrong. When Mr. and Mrs. Gu were busy, they even left their biological son directly to the nanny. How could they develop feelings for an adopted daughter? In wealthy families, talking about feelings is the most useless thing. Talking about interests is what's effective. So, I put down the ice pack and spoke calmly. Dad, Mom, I have something to tell you. I scored 718 on the Gaokao, making me the top scorer in the science category. As soon as I finished speaking, Mr. and Mrs. Gu both looked up sharply at the same time. Even Gu Zhiyue's eyes widened. I want to apply to Peking University's Guanghua School of Management, and in my freshman year, I want to go to Dad's group to intern in the investment department. Mr. Gu was silent for 2 seconds. When he spoke again, there was already a smile on his face. It's naturally a good thing that you have this heart, Shichu. Congratulations. Lien, bring the red wine from my trunk. Shichu. Should be 18 now, right? Let's celebrate properly today. Ignoring Gu Zhiyue's gaze, which was so dark it could almost drip with ink, I raised my glass to clink with Mr. and Mrs. Gu, gently thanking them for their cultivation of me. I had bet correctly. Mr. and Mrs. Gu didn't care about an ordinary adopted daughter. But if the adopted daughter is the top scorer of the Gaokao, then she is the glory of the family. A symbol of the parents' educational success and a hope for the future. Mr. and Mrs. Gu were both very happy. They opened several bottles of vintage red wine in a row, arranged a time for a reporter interview with me, and only then went back to rest, slightly tipsy. Only Gu Zhiyue and I were left at the dining table. The light from the crystal chandelier fell on Gu Zhiyue's face. Ambiguous and dark, he had inherited Mrs. Gu's looks. With a prominent nose and deep-set eyes. He did indeed look like a handsome, unruly young master from a rich family. However, at this moment, he was looking at me with those beautiful eyes. The gaze in his dark pupils ice-cold. Gu Shichu, you don't actually think that this will make you a part of my family, do you? I stood up, politely returned my chair to its original position, and then leaned close to Gu Zhiyue's ear, whispering, young master, get a grip on the situation. It's your parents now, who actively want me to be a part of the family. On the day I went back to school to get my transcript, I saw Zhou Sherman. She stood in the shadows, looking toward me, her expression full of resentment, confusion, and anger. I knew it was because of the video of Mr. and Mrs. Gu being interviewed with me that she had just seen. In the video, Mrs. Gu had her arm around my shoulder, while Mr. Gu spoke eloquently to the host. The host was full of compliments, saying he was both a successful entrepreneur and a successful educator. At the end, the three of us took a group photo, looking just like that perfect family from the advertisements. This was what Zhou Sherman had been obsessed with but had never obtained. She looked at me and said in a low, resentful voice, what tactics did you use? I just focused on studying hard and making progress every day. Do you believe that? With that, I turned to leave. Zhou Sherman certainly didn't believe it. But this happened to be the only solution. I heard Zhou Sherman say softly behind me, even if you have the love of Mr. and Mrs. Gu, it's useless. The person Gu Zhiyue loves is me. Very good, the standard configuration for the heroine of an idol drama isn't it to be with the hero? Even if the parents don't support it. Even if it means being against the whole world, to be together forever? I give them my blessings. The result was that 10 minutes later, I met the hero of the idol drama himself. Gu Zhiyue, followed by a group of lackeys, cornered me in the hallway. By this time, both teachers and students had already left, and the school building was empty. Even if I called for help, no one would hear me. I looked up, and felt a chill in my heart. Even the surveillance cameras had been broken in advance. They came prepared. Gu Zhiyue stood in front of me. He said in a low voice, Gu Shichu. It's time to wake up from your dream of a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Today I'll show you what happens to hypocrites. As soon as he finished speaking, the lackey beside him had already rushed up, grabbed my hair, and slammed me directly against the wall. With a bang, plastered dust fell fluttering down. I was in so much pain that I saw stars, but I don't know where the strength came from. As I kicked hard at the lackey's groin, a wretched scream rang out, and the lackey fell to the ground, his features twisted into a mess. Gu Zhiyue's expression changed. Just as he was about to have the other lackey step forward, I suddenly pulled a red wine bottle from my backpack. It was for a dinner gathering tonight. Mr. Gu had given it to me, to drink with my classmates. At this moment, I slammed the wine bottle against the wall. Red liquid splashed together with the shards. Then I held up the bottle, pointing the sharp edges at these dozen or so boys. Come on! I shouted loudly. My hair was already a complete mess, stuck with filthy plaster dust. Warm liquid was flowing from my nose all the way down to my chin. It must be blood. I don't know how crazy I look right now, but clearly, these dozen boys were all intimidated by me. For a moment, no one came over. I reached out and wiped a handful of nosebleed, then smiled. Hypocritical? Gu Zhiyue, you really have a way with words. Fine, I'm hypocritical, and you're righteous. The hypocritical me has at least donated money and saved people. Then what about our righteous young master Gu, who has received your help? Is it only your beloved little white flower? In the distance, Zhou Sherman bit her lip and hid to the side. Actually, she didn't need to hide. I had seen her long ago. Gu Zhiyue was going to stand up for her and teach me a lesson. How could she miss such a good show? The nosebleed kept flowing down. Impossible to wipe clean. I simply ignored it and looked at Gu Zhiyue, then looked at the dozen or so people behind him. I smiled calmly. Gu Zhiyue, you brought so many people here, making such a big scene. You'd better not let me go back alive today. Otherwise, the smile on my face vanished. If you let me walk away alive, I will definitely drag you down to hell with me. Gu Zhiyue's face turned pale. Just as Zhou Sherman once said, Mr. Gu is an honorary trustee, and the Gu family is wealthy and influential. Gu Zhiyue bullying his classmates in school. As long as nothing really big happened, many of the teachers would just turn a blind eye. But as for killing someone in school, Gu Zhiyue didn't have the guts for that. He stared at me for a long time, saying in a low voice, a scheming woman like you, dying now would be too easy for you. I laughed loudly. So this is scheming? Do you want to know what real scheming looks like? Looking at Gu Zhiyue, a thrill of pleasure swept through my heart like a tremor. I can finally tell you. I said word for word. The reporters investigating the bullying incident were brought here by me. In an instant, the pupils of both Gu Zhiyue and Zhou Sherman dilated. Why did you think it would be such a coincidence? A casual mention of bullying was immediately heard by the reporters visiting the school. I pointed to myself, smiling. Because those reporters were called by me. I wrote anonymous letters to several newspapers, reporting that there was severe bullying behavior at Jiang City No. 1 Middle School. If such a thing were true, it would make the front page headlines. So they would definitely send people to investigate. I knew that. With Zhou Sherman's brain that can't earn even a single point. If I brushed her off the dance performance program, she would 9 times out of 10 go to you and say I'm bullying her. Just as she was crying and complaining to you here. The reporters were conducting their secret investigation there. It was a perfect match. The reporters would definitely investigate me. And of course I had prepared everything I should have prepared. But Gu Zhiyue, think about it, once the reporters found out it was a misunderstanding, and that the bully wasn't me, would they stop there or would they keep investigating? The color suddenly drained completely from Gu Zhiyue's face. I smiled. Understand? The whole world is a set I prepared for you. Out of those 7 or 8 reporters that day, even if only 2 continued investigating, it would be enough to give you a real run for your money. You must have heard what the director of the Bureau of Education said. He hates bullying the most. If the incidents of you bullying people were to come out, then even Dad wouldn't be able to protect you. Do you see? Young Master Gu, this is what's called scheming. After I finished speaking with a beaming smile, Gu Zhiyue's expression was as bad as it could possibly be, and the boys around him were already starting to lose their cool. What should we do, Brother Gu? Could the reporters still be in the school? If they find their way here, we'll be finished. If it stays on our records, it'll be there for a lifetime. These boys were basically from ordinary families. They only dared to follow Gu Zhiyue in his wrongdoing because they thought Gu Zhiyue had strong backing, and that nothing would happen to them. But the sight of the group of reporters from that meeting in the city was enough to scare off anyone. I, who am at least nominally the daughter of the Gu family, could have almost had my reputation destroyed. Not to mention anyone else. The whole thing was orchestrated by me. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey. The one being investigated for fake bullying was me. But the one being intimidated was the real bully, Gu Zhiyue. So, dear brother, please cherish me properly. Look after me, and support my work in the Gu group. I leaned closer to Gu Zhiyue, smiling like a flower. Otherwise, I'll drag the entire Gu family down with me. The smile on my face vanished instantly. I tapped Gu Zhiyue's nose with the broken glass bottle, then turned around and walked away. No one dared to stand in my way the entire time. Only Zhou Sherman's voice, choked with tears, echoed behind me. Zhiyue, how could you just let her go like that? The only response she got was Gu Zhiyue's cold, irritable roar, get out. 13. Gu Zhiyue suddenly seemed to have changed. In the past, he never allowed me to attend any of the Gu family's banquets. When someone invited him to a gala this time, he took the initiative to tell Mother Gu, I'll take my sister with me. Mom, help her prepare a formal gown. Over the phone, I heard Zhou Sherman throwing a tantrum, demanding to be his date. Shouldn't you be taking me? Gu Zhiyue's voice was full of impatience. I've already paid for you to study in Australia with me. What more do you want? Zhou Sherman performed very poorly on the college entrance exam. She was never a good student in her previous life either. All her energy was spent on pleasing the Gu family. In this life, things switched from easy mode to hell mode. And her grades were even worse. Her only way out was to cling to Gu Zhiyue and stay by his side, but I could tell that Gu Zhiyue was starting to get tired of her. Zhou Sherman initially attracted Gu Zhiyue by acting like a poor, innocent flower, stubborn and independent. The girl who couldn't be bought by wealth and couldn't be bowed by power. But that wasn't her true nature. A person can pretend for a while, but it's hard to pretend for a lifetime. Gu Zhiyue liked the girl who was poor, yet said no to luxury gifts. Not the girl who cried and made a scene, begging him to take her to Australia. But she had no choice. She could fake the former, but she really couldn't fake the latter, because she had no other path. If Gu Zhiyue didn't take her, she would truly be trapped, and die in that suffocating Zhou family home. After the summer break, Zhou Sherman and Gu Zhiyue went to Australia together. Actually, Gu Zhiyue never publicly announced that Zhou Sherman was his girlfriend. But Zhou's parents couldn't wait. They hired paparazzi to follow Gu Zhiyue and Zhou Sherman, taking photos of them and posting them online. Heir of Gu Group dines intimately with his girlfriend. The two turn out to be childhood sweethearts. Father Gu smashed his phone after seeing the report. Low-class tactics. She hasn't even graduated from university and she's already rushing to force her way into our family. When Gu Jiyue returned home, Father Gu gave him a fierce scolding. If you want to get married, wait for your mother and me to arrange it. If you want to find someone yourself, for a casual relationship, that's fine too, but don't bring me this kind of trash, who clearly can't hold her own in high society. Gu Jiyue listened without a word, his gaze quietly and constantly drifting toward me sitting nearby. I felt his gaze, but I just kept my head down, reading financial reports. Zhou's parents were like this in the last life too. As soon as Gu Jiyue showed a little interest in me, they were desperate to drug me and deliver me straight to the Gu family's bed. As for father and mother Gu, they also fiercely opposed Gu Jiyue marrying a girl from such a family in the last life. Unfortunately, they didn't live long enough. They passed away before Gu Jiyue could get married. Father Gu finished lecturing Gu Jiyue, then strictly forbade him from seeing Zhou Sherman again during his break. Gu Jiyue didn't resist. He stayed at home, constantly trying to win me over. He bought me a pair of expensive diamond earrings as a birthday gift. Once, I stayed out late with friends, and he waited in his car outside the bar to pick me up. Song Shali sat beside me, holding a non-alcoholic mojito, looking out at Gu Jiyue, who had already smoked one cigarette after another. Song Shali opened his mouth, wanting to say something to me. I raised my hand to stop him. I know what you're going to say. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After saying goodbye to my friends, I sat in Gu Jiyue's passenger seat. He handed over a bag. I looked down. It was hangover soup and a small cake from my favorite dessert shop. I smiled. Gu Jiyue, there's no need. He silently stepped on the gas. He didn't speak a word all the way home. I took the hangover soup and the cake and threw them both into the trash can. Gu Jiyue stood right there watching, but he didn't say anything in the end. I went back to my room, not wanting to deal with him. Song Shali was studying computer science at Tsinghua next door. He recently developed a program that could improve corporate personnel management efficiency. This was a great opportunity to start my own business. I had already been interning in the strategic investment department of Gu Group for nearly 3 years and had gained a certain amount of influence. I decided to allocate 2 million in funds to Song Shali to co-found a company. He would be in charge of technology and I would handle the business side. I had been very busy lately. By comparison, Gu Jiyue was truly unimportant. I didn't expect that the fact Gu Jiyue drove me home was seen by Zhou Sherman. She hadn't been able to see Gu Jiyue for so long, so she waited at the entrance of the villa area just to catch a glimpse of him. As it happened, she saw me getting out of Gu Jiyue's car. I can imagine the absolute terror in Zhou Shimon's heart at that moment. She probably saw the scene from her previous life again. Gu Jiyue sneering as he kicked her out with nothing, only to turn around and tenderly put a wedding veil on me. That was her deepest nightmare. Early Monday morning, I finished meeting a prospective client and left their office building holding my materials. At the stairwell, I encountered a familiar figure. 14. Zhou Sherman had lost weight, her cheeks slightly sunken, her eyes bloodshot. Despite that, she was still beautiful. A tiny face, Barbie-like eyes. She looked like a celebrity torn from a poster. Actually, back at the orphanage, Zhou Sherman was the prettiest of all the children. Almost every family that came to adopt would notice her first. If it hadn't been for her high expectations, she would have been adopted long ago. And because of that, she was particularly unwilling to settle. Walking toward me step by step, Zhou Sherman stopped in front of me. She was wearing high heels, making her half a head taller than me. As I was wearing flats for business meetings, Zhou Sherman said, "I'm pregnant. It's Gu Jiyue's." I said, "Oh? Really? Then you'd better not wear such high heels." Zhou Sherman stared at my face, trying to find any trace of emotional disturbance. But she found nothing. So she was the first to break down. "Sure Chu. What other tricks do you have? How exactly are you stealing Jiyue from me? Clearly, in this life, the one he should love is me. You should be the person he hates the most. He shouldn't give you a single penny in the future." Why? Why? I've already studied every way. You used to please him in the last life. And I did the same things. But he's still getting colder and colder toward me. What secrets are you still hiding from me? I looked at the sobbing Zhou Sherman. After a long silence, I only sighed. "Move aside, I have another client to visit." Zhou Sherman looked up at me. "No, Sure Chu, you won't say it, will you?" "Fine." At that moment, I realized something. But it was too late. Zhou Sherman lunged forward and hugged me tightly, then threw her body backward. Together, we tumbled down the stairs. With a loud crash, Zhou Sherman and I landed at the bottom of the staircase. I must have hit the back of my head on the railing. My vision went black. Intense pain shot from my knee. I couldn't even tell which leg could still move. In the dizzying darkness, I only heard Zhou Shimon's tearful cry, "Jiyue." With great effort, I raised my head. I blurrily saw the person standing before us. Gu Jiyue. 15. Blood began to spread from under Zhou Shimon's skirt. She cried, "Jiyue. Our baby is gone. Your sister pushed me. She said if your child were born, It would take away her share of the inheritance. Gu Zhiyue's face was deathly pale. After a long pause, he bent down and picked me up. Zhou Shimon's eyes widened in shock. She looked at Gu Zhiyue in disbelief, wailing his name, Gu Zhiyue. Gu Zhiyue said coldly, Zhou Sherman. You disgust me. Zhou Sherman began to tremble all over. This was her nightmare. In the previous life, Gu Zhiyue often said those words to her, Zhou Sherman. You disgust me. Even with different choices in this life, and a different process, why was the ending still the same? Zhou Sherman seemed to go mad. She screamed, why? I chose correctly. I chose right. Why is the result always the same no matter what I choose? I didn't hear anything else she said. The dizziness from the back of my head grew stronger, and the world gradually faded into black. 16. The ward was filled with a faint smell of disinfectant. I opened my eyes. Gu Zhiyue was sitting by the bed. He said in a low voice, Zhou Sherman was the one who called me there. She probably planned to frame you. But I arrived early. So I heard your entire conversation. Chu, just focus on recovering. Don't worry about it. As for that child, she got it because she drugged my juice. My leg was still in pain, and so was the back of my head, but I still rudely interrupted Gu Zhiyue. Are you trying to explain yourself to me? Gu Zhiyue was stunned. I pulled the blanket up a bit. If mom and dad hold you accountable for this, you should naturally explain it to them. But this seems to have nothing to do with me, doesn't it? Gu Zhiyue paused for a long time, then whispered, I want to break up with her. There was an awkward silence. I smiled. That seems even less related to me. Gu Zhiyue looked up at me with fear in his eyes. Chu. Do you really not understand what I mean? I looked quietly into Gu Zhiyue's eyes. His gaze grew more and more expectant. When that expectation reached its peak, I laughed. Of course I understand. Gu Zhiyue. You are the world's greatest master of self-humiliation. The light in Gu Zhiyue's eyes vanished instantly. He was silent for a long time, before whispering, I know I've done many wrong things. But I'm willing to spend the rest of my life working for your forgiveness. When you first came to our home, I really did hate you. But I don't know why. Later I couldn't help but care about you more and more. When you threatened me in the school hallway, saying you'd drag the entire Gu family to hell with you, I surprisingly wasn't angry. On the contrary, I discovered that you were completely different from what I imagined. Strong and brave, with such a vibrant spirit. It's the version of you that I love. After finishing his quiet confession, Gu Zhiyue lowered his head. Recently, I've been having a recurring dream. I dream that I'm getting married. And the bride is you. In the dream, I hold your hand and say, everything of mine belongs to you now. Chu, we could be very happy. I smiled. Gu Zhiyue, we could be very happy? How about this? Go drink all the water in the toilet. And I'll consider it, okay? Eventually, Gu Zhiyue left. He said he knew I couldn't forgive him right away. But he was willing to wait. After Gu Zhiyue left the ward, Song Xiaoli, who had been waiting outside, came to my side. I glanced at him. You heard everything? Since you heard, what do you want to say to me? I want to ask if that client's interest from this morning is actually greater than 50%. When can we finalize the contract? You heartless man. Shouldn't you at least ask me first? When I'm getting discharged? I already asked the doctor at the door about that. He said the day after tomorrow. I have already adjusted our subsequent work schedule accordingly. The next roadshow is tentatively set for the day after that. You won't even let me rest for a few days? No. I know what is truly important to you. You truly are my partner. I'm very satisfied with such an excellent business partner. How could I not become wealthy? 19. After the roadshow ended, I set aside a day to visit Zhou Sherman at the hospital. She had lost her child. Lying on the bed, she looked listless. The fat on her face completely gone. Gu Zhiyue had already broken up with her. During all the days she was hospitalized, Zhou's parents hadn't visited her once. The only group of visitors she had received was the one she never expected, the director of the orphanage, and several friends who were also orphans. The director said, Chu helped us with the travel expenses. She has been donating money to us all these years. Thanks to her, Xiaoduo and Lily's conditions have improved a lot. Zhou Sherman was stunned. Actually, most children in the orphanage have a hard time finding adopters. They were abandoned. Some because of physical disabilities, some because of intellectual impairments, and some because of terminal illnesses. By comparison, Zhou Sherman and I were healthy and beautiful. Already the luckiest among the lucky. The director had told us back then that we were one big family, and all the children were brothers and sisters. But after leaving the orphanage, Sherman never thought of her brothers and sisters again. I, on the other hand, often went back to volunteer in my previous life. In this life, after entering the Gu family, I directly made large donations to treat disabled children and find them a way forward. Watching these children stutteringly discussing Sister Chu in front of her, Zhou Sherman suddenly burst into tears. She cried for a long time, so long that the orphanage director and children had said their goodbyes. I came to her side, but she didn't notice. I calmly waited for her to finish crying. After a while, Zhou Sherman covered her face with her hands and said softly, do you hate me very much? Before I could answer, Zhou Sherman cut me off. I hate you too. I just wanted a better life. What did I do wrong? I thought about it. Nothing was wrong. You just used the wrong method. Sherman looked at me. Are you saying I'm not as kind as you? Not as innocent as you? Not as caring as you? I shook my head. No, Sherman. Your biggest mistake is that whether in your past life or this one, your mindset has always been to steal someone else's cake. But why should others let you eat their cake? Even if they did, how do you know it isn't poisoned? The correct way is to bake your own cake. Zhou Sherman started crying and shouting. What right do you have to judge me? Didn't you want a share of the Gu family's property too? I shook my head. I don't. The 2 million I took from the Gu group. After Song Xiaoli's and my company became profitable, I returned it all with interest. As for the clothes and jewelry Mother Gu gave me, I've sealed the valuable ones in the safe, and made an itemized list. I hope to completely sever ties with the Gu family in the future. The reason is simple. Gu Group made its fortune through real estate. Over the past 30 years, there have been deaths during land acquisitions and construction. There's no telling how much shady business happened in secret. Father Gu has methods to handle things, so these matters are suppressed for now, but they can't be hidden forever. Holding this blood-stained, dirty money, sooner or later, trouble will come. When that happens, everyone related to the Gu Group will go to prison. Zhou Sherman couldn't understand any of this. She just stared at me blankly. After a long time, she said softly, in both lives, I lost to you. I shook my head gently, then leaned in close. This is the reason I came here. I have some things to say to you, Sherman. In both lives, you spent all your time chasing after me, as if I were your greatest enemy. But let me ask you, in these 2 lifetimes, the person who truly ruined you, was it really me? It was as if a bolt of lightning struck Zhou Sherman. Her entire body trembled, and she broke into loud sobbing. I turned away, and never looked back. 20. Time flies. On the day the company Song Xiaoli and I founded went public, I saw the news. In front of the Gu Group building, Zhou Sherman had stabbed Gu Zhiyue with a knife. Song Xiaoli was beside me, and he saw the news too. The news said Zhou Sherman had been caught by the police. Gu Zhiyue was being rushed for emergency surgery, his life hanging in the balance. Song Xiaoli only glanced at it, before looking away. I teased him on purpose. Aren't you going to ask if I'm worried? Aren't you worried about Gu Zhiyue? He loved me quite a bit later on, didn't he? No, Sure. In this life, I'd rather you accept money from a loan shark, than accept love from a piece of trash. Also, you. Let me look at the script for the media conference. One more time. I think there are problems with 6 of your segments. Alright, monitor. The world's largest industry summit was about to begin. Under the lights, the host had already started the exciting opening remarks. And Song Xiaoli and I, as the youngest and most high-profile successful female entrepreneurs, were about to take the stage. Countless flashes were about to light up for us, and countless lenses were about to focus on us. Song Xiaoli wore a snow-white suit. She looked cool, efficient, and remarkably poised. That weed that grew silently during adolescence had finally become a pine tree standing tall amidst a blizzard. I wore a black silk gown, elegant and generous, with hidden sparkles. After surviving the long night, one can finally see the starlight. Song Xiaoli, are you nervous? Never mind, artificial intelligence doesn't get nervous. I shouldn't have even asked. After a brief silence, Song Xiaoli took my hand, passing the warmth from her palm to me. Gu Shichu, don't be nervous. The curtain opened. Our names were displayed on the massive LED screen. Song Xiaoli and I walked onto the stage hand in hand, greeted by a mountain of applause. 21. Epilogue. Later, Song Xiaoli's and my company grew bigger and bigger. Gu Zhiyue didn't die. He was severely injured, but through emergency treatment, his life was saved. Which is good. For all the sins the Gu Group has committed, someone should be alive to pay the debt. Zhou Sherman went to prison. She wrote to me from prison, saying that if she ever had the chance to get out, she hoped to return to the orphanage, to volunteer and look after the children. She said she hoped to spend the second half of her life atoning to me. At the end of the letter, she called me sister. My feelings were complicated. I put the letters away. Many of the children from the orphanage gathered around me. Sister Shichu, what are you looking at? I shook my head. Nothing. Today, Song Xiaoli and I visited the orphanage to meet with the director. In our company's name, we will establish a charitable fund to help children who haven't been adopted, as well as those who weren't adopted and are facing hardships, providing them with ongoing support. The sun is shining brightly, the weather is beautiful, and we have finally stepped into the future we've always longed for.